So in my last video, I talked about how publishers are using private AI that's regulated behind the scenes. So what can you actually do with it as an author without crossing a line or feeding your work into something that'll use it? Again, I'm no expert. This is my personal opinion. Rule 1, before you touch anything, go into your settings and make the AI private so it can't train on what you put in. That one switch is the big difference between a tool and, a leak and putting your writing out there. My personal rule, I never upload anyone else's manuscript to it. Yours is your call. Someone else's work is never yours to hand over unless you have consent from the author to do that. So now the useful parts, all on that private setting. You can ask it to read your manuscript and give you back a tight summary or chapter by chapter summaries. That's not your final pitch though. It would be rough clay, a starting point that you shape into the materials you'd send to an agent or an indie publisher instead of staring at a blank page for hours. One of my favorites first is ask it to read a chapter and give you one question, just one, that you could answer to make it clear for a reader promise. Or ask the uncomfortable one, tell me what's weak in this writing passage. You don't have to agree with the answer, again, because it favors rules over style, but sometimes it names the exact thing that's been quietly blocking you for weeks. You never know, and you didn't have words for it until you saw it. A couple of my favorites, actually, I took AI for Editors by Aaron Survey. It's an amazing course last year. Here's the one I learned in that course. It's called Build Yourself an Expert Panel. So say you've got a fight scene in a thriller. You can ask the AI to give you, say, a list of 10 experts who could analyze that scene. Then you choose from those 10, military combat veteran, a sound designer from a movie set, and a writing expert who specializes in pacing and tension. You can ask each of those experts. Again, you have to be very specific in your prompting step by step, but ask each expert to read it and tell you what's working, what's realistic, what's not, and maybe how to make it land a little bit harder. And then suddenly you've got 3 completely different professional angles on your scene that you never have thought to ask on your own. So that one's pretty fun just to play around with in general. And then of course the boring one that saves real time is organization. If you've got 50 pages of notes and you can't remember what you've already established across a long manuscript, that's hard for anyone to hold in their head. We had a comment from a follower saying that that's how she uses it too. Drop it in, ask it to organize the mess or suggest a structure. One author put it perfectly in the comments as well. They're a screenwriter and they use it purely to format, not to outsource creativity. So truly that's the spirit of all of this. It does the typing, you do the thinking. So the last video for this series is the real question of how to use any of this ethically, if any of that will ever be figured out.